Why, hello, good evening. I figured I'd play some more Star Citizen tonight, and, well, to satisfy those who might ask for content later, looking at you, Bas, I figured I'd just stream this. So next time someone's asking, oh, hey, can you do a live stream? Which really is just one person, but regardless, next time someone does ask that, I'll have a little bit of a backlog to link them to. So yeah, let's get up here in Grimhex. Because I do still think I have... No, I do not have that bounty, or excuse me, that crime stat on my head. I'm a free man again. Which is fantastic, isn't it? So yeah, this time we did actually start on time. Exactly at 10:20 PM. No delays. Let me check the audio levels. Oh, that's pretty good. This time I've opted to wear some headphones inside my... I'll rephrase that. I'm wearing some earphones, some Apple AirPods, inside of my headphones, which are connected to the computer. So I should be able to do some nice monitoring without actually having the feedback on stream. Would be nice. And that also means that I'll be able to listen to my own music while streaming and not get copyright claimed. Yeah, I'm a bit too quiet. There we go. Actually, how about we fade out that... Yeah, there we go. Let's fade out that Star Citizen music. Because as great as it is, I've only got that one track in there loaded, which I should really change. Sorry, I still heard myself echoing there, or feedbacking, I guess, with the headphones. But yeah, as great as that one track is, I really love it. It's fantastic. I've only got one of them, so it just keeps looping, which is quite annoying. I really should go ahead and download the rest of the Star Citizen OST. I mean, I do have the digital soundtrack with my pledge package, but they're not going to release that until the game's done, I think. Which is really too bad. I'd like that as a nice comprehensive download list or something. And the reason I don't just put it on Vimeo or Vimeo, you know, SoundCloud or YouTube is because, well, I don't really want to hear it. I don't think I'll listen to my own music tonight. I'll just see. Nothing wrong with some of the in-game sounds, right? Let me turn them up actually, since we're not having to listen to any music or other people or something. That should be pretty good, although that might actually be too loud. Who knows? Who knows? I have to find a way to do this properly. I keep saying that on every stream, but there's got to be some way to do this. Maybe using a proper audio interface, something other than this Zoom H5 portable recorder, which really wasn't meant for this kind of stuff. Or maybe I just hook up a second screen and get some monitoring software on there. I don't know. I don't know. But regardless, let's claim the 300i. 12 minutes. Retrieve the MSR, and I think we're gonna go mining tonight. That seems like something that'll be nice to do. Actually, what I think we'll do is we'll put Star Citizen Live on in the background again, because I really liked that last time. Also gives me something to listen to, and it ensures that the stream isn't just dead quiet. You know, just being relaxed, not thinking about talking to myself. Because oh yeah, that's a lot of fun. I wonder if this counts as you know, being on the path to insanity, talking to yourself as though there was an audience. Yeah. Might be kind of weird. But we'll just pretend there's people. Yeah, hello everyone, hello viewers, welcome, welcome. Am I wearing a spacesuit? Yes, I am. I'm even wearing a helmet. Look at that. And I've got both my guns. Fan-frickin-tastic. This door, I want it to stay open. Lock. Is it locked? I think it's locked, right? Does it like open and close? Oh, it most certainly does not. Okay. Open. Press it once. Does it stay open? I heard someone say that works. They lied! What if we turn the sensor off? The sensor does not want to be off. Interesting. You'd expect that to work, but guess not. Open up, please. Really like to keep that one door open because it's annoying. Also, come on, please extend the sensor ranges. Seriously, I really hate waiting for these doors. You'd think they'd be able to do that. I mean, it's the future. We've got pretty good automatic sliding doors nowadays, right? Yeah, you'd think. Oh, I didn't know you could actually see the rock protruding through that. Cool. Oh, Dracula is out of bounds, I guess. I could fine tune that. I will not power her up. Come on. Power on. There we go. In the engine zone. There's someone flying around. Hey, the map's working. Nice. That's a first. Up and they're gone. Out of sensor range at least. My mouse is turning all sorts of weird stuff in the game. Ooh, yeah, weird. Is it supposed to do that? In like a clicky, pointy finger hand thing? I don't know. I don't know. I missed that center engine though. Alrighty. It is mining time, I do think. Well, let's check if we have any good missions, perhaps. I wish there were cargo missions during which you'd actually have to transport SCU instead of just stupid boxes. Really, I really wish we could do that. I don't care about the trading mechanic. But yeah, it'd be nice to trade other people's stuff, have them think about it, right? Them figure out where to send it. Mr. Hurston. I'll take it for now, I guess. I'd like to do that one with Negus, our boss. That pays real well. Nah. Let's go mining. Like we said, stick to the plan. Crusader, we wanna go over here. Nope, not over there. We're close. Kristen. And then we wanna go to... Nope, it's fine. Aerial. HDMS Bezdek. Whatever the hell that means. Bezdek. Sounds kind of ominous, but I'm not one to judge. Actually, speaking of names, and judging, I'm gonna figure out what I'll call this ship. Once I'll get to name it at the end of this month. I haven't got a clue. Look at where we came from. Oh god, Trackir. Please. Behave. Behave yourself. Right, I'm assuming we do have a route set, right? Yeah, we do. Right, we go this way. Let's get those asteroids out of the way. Oh, that's Grim Hex. We don't want to go there. We just came from there. Not the comms array. Most certainly not Yella. Right, well, let's see if we actually got that route saved. Yes, we did. No, we did not. Now we did. Right. There we go. That's better. Where do we go? There. Right. While, actually no, I'll put on the Star Citizen Live when we're in QT. Right, let's jump. Oh, still have my landing gear down. Oh well. YouTube. Star Citizen. Oh yeah, I also have to check my track IR before I forget. See if I'm properly aligned. It's kind of glitching out when I took my head up too high. I don't particularly like that. Should be fine. Oh, odd. Let's watch the Dynamic Events live stream. I don't think I've watched that one yet.
Hi everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Live Dynamic Events with Tony Zurovec. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee, and if you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, it's where we take about an hour out of the end of our week and check in with developers, see what they're doing, talk about the things that they're working on. Sometimes we watch them make something live. Today, we have a gentleman who's probably no stranger to most Star Citizens, but we're going to take the time to introduce him anyway. Meet Tony Zurovec. Tony, how you doing, man?
Hi, how's it going? Tony Zurovec, Director of Persistent Universe.
All right, so the Director of Persistent Universe, we're just going to jump right into this. The last time we saw you was CitizenCon 2949 years, right? I checked in with our data solutions teams. We gained over 500,000 citizens since then. So somebody watching right now has no idea who you are. So take a few moments before we jump into this. Tell them who you are, what the Director of Persistent, or what your position does, some of the things you work on. I'm gonna get out of your way.
I have a lot of focus on what I'd say is like the simulation of the world, getting all the systemic elements operational, AI and mission architecture, back-end services that provide a lot of information to the game servers. Also, a lot of some of the occupational stuff we're working on. Some advanced bounty hunting, functionality. A lot of the interfaces, for everything from from shops to insurance to cargo loading. Just it's really a wide variety of things all over the map.
The systemic services, like the day-to-day operation of the persistent life in the persistent universe, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple aspects of that. Historically, it's been a lot of focus on the persistent stuff. That's now starting to shift over to a new group is basically going to take it and run with that. And we're going to basically affect a hand over a transition, and we're basically taking some of those existing resources, and we're going to retask them with helping to add some additional bandwidth into some of these areas that we've been wanting to flesh out for an extended period of time, but there were always so many other higher priorities. And we think just as of pretty recently, like within the last literally month or so, we've finally eliminated enough of the bottlenecks on the back end side to where we can pretty confidently support at least 20,000 players, concurrently.
Wow.
Might be higher. It's difficult to say until you actually get,
actually,
stress test some of these things. But we ran into some problems at the Fleet Week, the 2020 Fleet Week, and we took the lessons we learned there. It was kind of unfortunate timing in that particular case.
Servers that are bigger than 50.
Because we knew that we weren't going to be able to support, more, dramatically more players than we had in the near-term past when we launched that event, and we didn't, really think that was, going to be a problem because we had, for the previous, year, we had it in our development schedule to deliver, the final bits of iCache and to basically scale a number of, the loadout service, the variable service, to cache all the login credentials, all of this type of stuff that we're supposed to, to alleviate, to mitigate a lot of these bottlenecks. And unfortunately, that last Fleet Week event proved to be so popular that we wound up during probably about twice the number of concurrent users that we actually expected, and so what that did is it caused us to reprioritize some things so that we could get select pieces of that of that functionality out sooner. And many of those things are now operational. And so while there's still definitely plenty more to do, we think that we've got a decent amount of headroom given where we, given where we think the community involvement is going to be for the next few quarters, and then longer term, we've obviously got some major initiatives still on the horizon, like server meshing, which is where we're actually looking to distribute the workload across as many servers as is necessary, so that we can start to scale up the actual number of players within a given instance or shard of the game.
Yeah. All right, so. You just mentioned knowing where players are going to be and stuff for the next couple quarters. That brings us to the topic of this particular show, which is dynamic events. Now, dynamic events is a phrase that our community has heard several times, whispers here and there over the last year, almost 2 years, going back to 2019.
I really hate how it loses
back when we
target
referred to it as timed events in some of the monthly reports and stuff. Let's just start things off with a primer here. What is a dynamic event?
So you have to give a little bit of explanation first. Like, the long-term objective for Star Citizen has always been a dynamic, evolving universe. Most of our existing content to date, though, has been inherently static. So missions are offered at a given price at a particular location because a designer dictated it, not because something within the economic pipeline actually required that work be done. So if you're refueling, reloading, or repairing a ship, that doesn't actually increase the demand and thus the price for the associated commodities and components at refineries or shops. Similarly, the likelihood of running into a pirate on a given route doesn't waver regardless of whether a lot of unarmed cargo transports carrying valuable materials start traveling that path. So Quantum, which is the simulation that I showed off at the last CitizenCon, that's the primary method by which we're going to address this. And it simulates the effect of a vast amount of AI, and it then feeds those results, to the game, and then factors player actions back into the simulation. So you wind up with this very logical ebb and flow that you'd expect, and that creates a lot of temporary opportunities for people to exploit, and in general, it just makes the game feel far more interesting to play. So dynamic events are different. You can think of them you can think of them a bit as designer-driven short stories that can be layered on top of Quantum's systemic background, and they can be triggered manually or automatically when certain conditions are met. So if the system decides that war is broken out in an area, or we just decide that we want to liven things up a little, then designers and writers can inject a lot of precisely curated content into the game, and the impact of those modifications will then be blended into the simulation.
That's really, you said there's two ways to trigger them. Either we can set up situations, criterias in which the players meet them, and the system automatically goes, oh yeah, trigger this particular event that's been designed, or we can trigger them manually. Just describe to me the difference there. Why would we use one over the other for a particular situation?
Well, it's actually similar to a lot of what we've done with the normal development cycle, which is, on the one hand, we're putting out a live product, and so we have to build, we have to have something that the community can play right now. But at the same time, we're planning for the future. And so if you think about shops as an example, if all that a shop was going to do was basically offer a certain number of items for sale or a particular price, then the effort that we've expended to get us to here, was dramatically over-engineered. And it's been that way for the last 2.5 years, and it's only now that you're starting to bring in quantum and have quantum start to dictate some of this information, these services, which then cache this information. They're also responsible for basically receiving callbacks from the individual shops and then feeding, on occasion, some of those transactional events back to the mission instances that are running on some of these servers. That you start to see why we made some of the choices we did back then. And in other words, it's kind of like before you can get around to building the skyscraper, you have to lay the foundation. And so we've said this so many times in the past, and we're starting to get to the point now to where we're starting to exploit, some of these underlying pieces. I mean, quantum's another perfect example in that regard, in that we have these so-called probability volumes that dictate what sort of stuff you can encounter in a given area of space. And then we have shops, and we have service beacons, and we have all of these different systems. But
even more the other way around.
Right now, designers go in, even missions, what missions are available where and for what amount of money, and what level of risk you're going to incur when you actually accept them. That's all fixed right now. The designers are able to set up these data structures, but what we haven't previously been able to do is provide the real-time dynamic inputs that would allow us to make these things ebb and flow. In other words, if there's currently a lot of pirates in an area, then having something delivered to that area should logically cost more. There's a greater risk to you and your ship and and all that type of stuff. But designers haven't had the tools to be able to automatically feed that type of real-time information into these mission archetypes that they're setting up. And we're just now getting across a wide range of areas into doing some of that. And so there is an update that I'll be giving within roughly the next few months, that will basically explain what we've been working on insofar as not just quantum, but also some related back-end technologies to help generate this this algorithmic, this systemically derived information, and then feed it into the game. And in a few cases, we've actually we'll actually be able to demonstrate real actual working examples, as opposed to just being theory. I always hate to do too many repeated theory talks, and so one of the things we debated doing this presentation a little bit earlier, but it still would have been in the vein of, it's coming. And so I intentionally wanted to hold it back a few extra months so that we could demonstrate some of this stuff live and actually show some of these pieces of tech and functionality coming to fruition.
I do want to add on top of that, just for the community, this update that Tony is talking about that will come. We're not going to say when. Stuff. Let's be real. We don't have a great history of saying, "Hey, we're going to have this video out then," but we're working on it, and and from what I've already seen, it's pretty awesome. Tyler's in my chat right now, like, "Tell people it's awesome." It is awesome.
It's kind of like a release to where there are certain things you want to demonstrate, and there's always a little bit of uncertainty, with respect to development schedules. And so it's difficult to say precisely, but we are already deep into testing multiple facets of what we're aiming to deliver. So it's coming.
Yeah, just in our long history of saying, "Hey, we're going to have a special video out at this point talking about this thing." Our track record's not so good here, so just hang tight. All right. So right now on the PTU, there's a dynamic event, our first dynamic event, called Xenothreat, that's currently being tested now. without spoiling the event, we obviously don't want to break it down and be like, hey, phase 1 is this. We don't want to go into that much detail on it. But tell us what Xenothreat is, what we're hoping to accomplish.
Get one with and one without lights.
There were two primary things on our mind when thinking about this event, and we started discussing this internally probably almost a year ago. Back in first quarter 2020, what we wanted to achieve.
What a pretty ship.
And the other thing that we wanted, besides it being fun, was that it wouldn't cause us to deviate too much from the natural trajectory of the development effort. In other words, it couldn't be too disruptive. We wanted to take the things that logically followed in terms of the development effort and look for ways that we could exploit and reveal these to players and basically improve the overall gameplay experience. And in certain cases, of course, a little bit more effort here, pushing something else back to free up some bandwidth so that we could polish something a little sooner than it would otherwise be the case. That always happens.
Lights, no lights.
And so
lights, no lights.
One of the primary things that we wanted to do was get all of the mission and backend infrastructure operational. And this is, for example, there's backend tools now, and I'll cover this, in the upcoming presentation to activate and monitor and deactivate missions. And that's, again, if you look at Xenothreat, the amount of work that's gone into allowing this event to basically be to be activated is far larger than what you're able to see right now. What I mean by that is it exposes an entirely different way for designers to start to set these things up. They're able to, for example, within when they're crafting the mission archetype logic, they can now declare these static instance variables that are managed by the back end. And they also have the concept of phases, which are conditionals that can be associated with these variables that are managed by the back end. And the significance of this is that we can coordinate mission logic across all the different servers, and that's how Xenothreat fundamentally works, which is we have 4 phases in this mission. There's the initial, introductory phase where we're kind of like, giving, we're hinting that something's to come. We're doing some foreshadowing. There's the actual, javelin restocking phase. Then there is, the climactic battle scene, and then there's the conclusion. And all of these, are really they're representative. And what this event allowed us to do, most importantly, was to test and refine and get all this, stuff out and working in the real world. Like, so now you've actually got a dynamic mission service, and you actually have the concept of, these global variables, and the mission, and the designers are able to communicate with them through, through subsumption task archetypes, and we're able to do these conditional evaluations. We're able to basically have the back end synchronize however many servers we have to keep them all in lockstep. And then there's all sorts of fine tuning that goes on to where, well, if you've got a particular server and it's in, say, phase 2, and they're restocking and they've got the Javelin in port, and then and the designers can actually set it up to do things, and they are things like the number of Javelins that are successfully restocked in phase 2 can then serve as an input to phase 3, such that the frequency of support you get from the UEE Navy depends upon how successful you were in defending those ships in that earlier phase. And again, it's what matters less is the specifics of what we're doing, right this moment with that, and more what we're allowing the designers to do in the future, how we're basically unblocking them to to do lots more cool stuff. Another big focus for this particular event, a major one, was from the beginning we knew that we wanted to put a lot of emphasis, for the first time on the capital ship battles. So there were a litany of changes that we needed to make in order to enable this, and at the very top of the list was how the AI responded to the threat of torpedoes. So originally, and I say this was still true as of about 4 months ago when we finally got to the major push in that regard. Originally, neither turrets nor ships tasked with defending a capital ship paid them any heed, and that meant that it was way too easy to take these capital ships out in the early days. It was literally trivial. It was no fun at all. And so we spent over a month fine-tuning various systems so that countermeasures would be launched and worked as expected. Turrets would prioritize major incoming threats like a torpedo over most other things. Players would be rewarded for coordinating their attacks with one another. Like you tend to be much more successful if 3 players launch torpedoes at the same time. And we built in into the logic.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed.
This sense to where
it's not like better when you fire one.
Proper target selection.
Then you wait a little bit for the flares to go off, and then you immediately fire one again.
Too precise, not because you might not have that 1,000 years in the future, but simply because it's not fun. And so what we wanted to do, if it targets perfectly, and if it's able to, perfectly shift its attention, it simply didn't deliver the gameplay feeling that we wanted. And so again, we spent weeks and weeks tweaking, fine-tuning this until we were internally pretty happy with the results. Another good example was the Idris. The Idris was originally pretty suicidal in that it would happily engage the Javelin and get destroyed as long as it managed to get off its railgun. And so its logic wound up evolving to the point where it's now much more opportunistic. It wants to use its railgun, but only when that doesn't put it in too much danger. And then one other thing that we noticed was that the turret targeting couldn't be so Boolean. It couldn't focus 100% of its attention on an attacker that was only slightly more attractive than another player. Because again, it looked artificial, and most importantly, it just wasn't very fun for the other players. We were getting internal reports of, you have 8 turrets active on a ship, and you've got 16 players, and that when it was so Boolean, meant that at least half the players were not having any of that firepower focused on them even for an instant, and so they felt relatively bored in terms of the danger presented to them.
You want to be shot at if you're attacking, if you're jumping in the battle with an Idris and a Javelin. You want to be shot at. You want to feel like I'm a threat. Shoot at me.
Titan.
Yeah, and so there's a lot more fuzziness in grain, and it took time to basically work through all these details. I mean, we sat through every single week reviewing what how it looked when you basically fired individual torpedoes at a ship. How it looked when you fired multiple torpedoes. How it looked if you fired multiple torpedoes with a very small differential in time versus a large differential in time. How the ship responded when it still had countermeasures available. And then another aspect of this was the support ships that basically defend these capital ships. It's the same thing, to where even if you're firing upon them, if a torpedo is launched at the capital ship, they'll see that as a greater threat, break off, potentially at risk to themselves, and prioritize dealing with that torpedo. And so there's a multitude of these things that had to be worked through, and there's of course there's more we could do, there's more we will do. It's by no means perfect, but it's light years. I mean, I hesitate to say it's light years beyond where we were, when this started, because some of this stuff hadn't even realistically gotten off the ground, and now it's actually, in some of these select areas, it's actually quite mature.
You mentioned a couple things I want to follow up on. First off, the process of bringing capital ship battles to life and all the balanced decisions and all the new technologies that are required to bring up. That's actually the topic of next week's ISC. So, we got a lot there. Yeah, some of it you just heard from Tony, but we'll dive into more detail next week's ISC. I wanted to talk to you about other things you touched on. You mentioned some shared information between servers. Yeah, and that's something relatively new. That's a new aspect.
It's totally. This is literally the first demonstration of this tech. There's more to come. Like another thing we're working on the back inside is, like, right now we have the ability to, when the designers craft this mission logic, all of that logic previously, all the data was basically stored on the server. So if you have 200 servers, you had 200 different instances. And so what you're now seeing is like the first example of us allowing the designers to split it into, it's kind of like a client server architecture, but for mission logic, to where they can dictate this logic runs on the individual server instance, and it's got its own local variables, and it can interface with variables, and it can interface with functions that are also executed on the back end. And so what this allows us to do is, like I was saying earlier, it's like, you can have an individual mission instance of this Xenothreat on a given server, and you can register that you did or did not successfully defend this javelin. Did you sufficiently restock it and it left and you were victorious, or did it suffer so much damage that it had to run away? And so we actually tally the number of successful restockings, and then, like I said earlier, that directly impacts how quickly that javelin is going to come support you, assuming you need it in those later stages. And again, the important point there is it's representative. What we've done now is work out the details of the tech, put it into wide operations. You can kind of think of Xenothreat as the first use case, and it focused our efforts to get all this stuff working. And there is a lot more that you'll be seeing in both the near and farther term. Dynamic events are something that there's going to be continual focus on for the foreseeable future. For example, the next Fleet Week is actually going to be running off of these same fundamental principles. We've got another dynamic event which we're referring to as Ninetales Lockdown, and it introduces.
There we go. Jesus.
It's not live yet, but we're already well into testing. The so-called shop modifiers. We can now have mission logic affect at a global scale, and we've resolved all of the coordination between the different servers and issues like that. So you can now apply shop modifiers. You can apply probability volume modifiers. You can basically lock down areas of space, inhibit quantum travel within them. What will be coming in the not too distant future will be things like, population control, control of the actual spawn managers, things of that sort, access to areas. And you think about this, what is Fleet Week other than at a certain time we're going to go ahead and open the doors to a certain area and allow you entrance. And in the case of some of these upcoming events, when those events are active, we want to basically, we've decided as designers that it would be fun if we're doing a Fleet Week event, then we want to increase the demand for party favors and alcohol and fireworks, or whatever other types of commodities temporarily at this location. And so for the duration of this event, we crank up the demand, the price goes higher, we broadcast that information to players, let them know, hey, by the way, the prices in this particular area for these particular commodities are getting out of whack. You might want to take advantage of this temporary opportunity and focus on that. And so all of this is completely new functionality. It's basically you're adding additional paints to what the designers can use to craft these portraits that they're making.
So yes.
Wow.
You now know what the next dynamic event is.
There's going to be. We're just going to be keep rolling them out. We've actually we've probably got 8 or 10 specific ones planned, and like I said, each one is looking to leverage stuff that's come before and then add some new functionality.
Okay.
That's pretty.
We talked a bit about how with the dynamic events, it now allows cross-server progress and stuff like that. The events on one server, get tallied up with the events of another server to affect the next phase. You've got the Ninetales Lockdown, where we can now dynamically affect the price of shops and stuff like this. One of the things you touched on, and again, I just want to follow up on something you said: no deviation from the existing development. How important?
Just to be clear, it's not that there's no deviation. It's that you're trying. Basically, we have a long-term plan of things we want to get done, and it logically makes sense to do this before this other piece of tech, etc. And so you don't, in general, want to deviate too dramatically purely for the sake of an arbitrary event. In other words, if not for Xenothreat, we could have done something else that would also be interesting. But it was time, in the natural course of things, we needed to basically start getting, the back end coordination of these events. We needed to get that operational. We needed to bring the capital ships online. The torpedo stuff is something that's been, that's something that's been bothering us for a long time. So all of those things. Now, some of those bits of tech when we started last year, they weren't going to be addressed for another 6 months, and and so we did reprioritize some things. So what I was saying earlier is you don't want to completely upend your logical development schedule, but you certainly refine it, you tweak it, you basically massage things around based upon. So you're kind of like looking for the intersection of what's within your grasp, if not absolutely all going to be there, unless you actually put some focus on it. And then once we kind of lock that down, it becomes a very good means of focusing everyone's attention to where we know exactly how we're going to be using everything from capital ship combat to the shop transactions that we can now have fed back into the mission logic to a vast multitude of other things.
No, you hit exactly what I wanted you to hit there. That these things don't detract or derail from the development. They actually focus in and bear down on things that we already intend to do. They just bring them into a more crystalline focus for a bit. That said, there had to be some concerns. There had to be some dangers inherent. What were some of the things we needed to look out for while we were working? What scared us about this?
The biggest concern from the beginning, I would say, was going to be performance. We knew performance was going to be an issue. It continues to be an issue. We've got a number of initiatives underway to basically improve that. And then we're also attacking it, from a completely different angle, which is not just the per server performance, but the whole server meshing initiative is intended to eventually allow us to distribute the workload over as many servers as we need. And so that was always something that we were aware of. We've basically tweaked and refined things. We, the maximum number of enemies you face. In other words, do you face 50 enemies at once, or do you basically face, a dozen, and we keep replenishing them as you destroy them or take them out, make them flee, basically replenish them, quicker. How many capital ships can we put, at a time? There's been a tremendous amount of focus on optimize everything from turret AI to even seemingly unrelated things like social AI. It's like any time you're saving there is basically additional time that you can inject into these events that are intended to basically draw lots of players together and have and have an enormous amount of AI active. If you think about it, I mean, this is definitely the biggest such event we've done to date, and we're putting more players and more AI, and you got tons of turrets operation. I mean, you have a lot of stuff happening in one area, and so
now we've got to turn around.
It's like with most things, right? Which is your first iteration of these things is never as mature as you would like in terms of the performance, and we're going to keep refining it. I think you'll see some big improvements over the course of the next few quarters, and we'll go from there.
All right, so we're about halfway through. We are talking with Tony Zurovec, big head honcho guy for Persistent Universe and Systemic Systems. Remember, if you're watching live on Twitch right now, you can send questions with the word "question" in capital letters surrounded by brackets. It's going to help Tyler and our community management team pull those out from the conversations. Remember to try to keep the questions related to the stuff we're talking about today. So if you're asking about when your favorite ship's going to come out or something, that's not really the stuff we take Tony's time with. Tony, you mentioned that designers get that designers can use dynamic events for all manner of things. We just showed on ISC how the terrain modification tool will make things easier for designers to craft and alter the surface of planets and stuff. Dynamic events isn't just a feature for players; it's also a tool for our developers and our designers. What are some of the ways that dynamic events can help our designers make better and more dynamic stuff for Star Citizen?
Well, it's like I was saying earlier. What
do I want to buy one? Now that is a good question. That's a real good question. How much money do I have? I mean, I got plenty. I made that in 2 days, so I might want to buy it actually. Ah no, we'll rent it for one more day. See if it's really that fun, or if I'm just letting the money go to my head. On button. There we go. I'm wearing a helmet, right? Okay, let's put the audio back up.
What dynamic events really are is what we set up by default is what I would call like the systemic background, right? That's what quantum is good at, which is it's like the real world economy. You know, things ebb and things flow, but in general, you don't have major financial crises or Great Depressions or wars, on a regular basis. But the reality, from a gameplay perspective, is you actually want a little bit of chaos here and there, and sometimes we, the designers, want to go in and specifically massage this. Like, oh, you know what? This area of the solar system has been kind of boring to date. We're going to liven it up. And so what these dynamic events allow us to do is basically to seamlessly integrate a chunk of designer and writer driven content into this background simulations, so that
I need a little
how it interfaces with the world as it currently exists. It's all logical. It's exactly what you're saying. In other words, for example, if we introduce a horde of pirates at a particular location, well, those pirates, they're going to need fuel, they're going to need ammo, they're going to need ship repairs. All of a sudden, you would expect to basically see lots more missions for escorts of transport ships in that area. You'd see more bounties being bounty service beacons being dispatched to that area. So you have all of these other logical knock-on effects you would like, and those they get for free. But you think about it, it's like in Xenothreat, there's all this custom dialogue and stuff geared towards this, and you gotta go record the specific lines and trigger them up. So it's basically what I would describe as the best of both worlds, which is it's a big open world, and you can do whatever you want and make whatever choices you want, and the game will respond logically. And if you're particularly clever, you'll occasionally ferret out some cool opportunities. And then at the same time, whether we manually do it or whether on occasion Quantum decides, there's been so much battling in this area that we're going to go ahead and activate a compatible dynamic event that says, and so the way these things are configured is you can think of it a bit like a programming function, to where they've got certain requirements, certain inputs that have to be fed to them. And so what the system is basically looking for is at any given time is for the inputs in any given area, what kind of content does it have that it can match up? And so I mentioned like dynamic events, but there's a middle layer to this, which is heretofore today, you've had the normal, what I call the static missions, and then at the far end of the spectrum, you've got these dynamic events, and in between, you've actually got what I've always referred to as dynamic missions. And dynamic missions, they kind of split the difference to where they're going to be systemically generated all over the place. You constantly see them. They'll look very much like right now. If you're in an area and there's a high probability of pirates, we actually create a pirate encounter mission, or you create a cargo transport ship mission, a conflict, or whatever the case may be. Where what dynamic missions do is basically allow us at a smaller, more localized scale. Now we're not talking about trying to coordinate this across multiple servers or anything like that. It's just that cargo ship that you run into in this area of space. What type of cargo should it have? Should it be copper? Should it be platinum? Should it be aluminum? It probably depends. Logically, it would depend upon, well, is it coming from from an area where it purchased those things, where that stuff is mined, refined, etc., and where is it going to? And so if it's heading one direction, if the cargo transport is going
500,000
from the refinery to the factory, then you would expect that it's going to be loaded with goods the refinery produces. And if the cargo ship is headed towards the the refinery, then it likely has raw ore that needs to be processed, etc. And so the point being, designers don't need to with the dynamic mission system. They don't need to fill in things like, hey, for this cargo transport mission, what kind of cargo does it have? Should it be beat up, or should it be in pristine condition? Should it have fighter escorts, or or should it just be traveling solo? should it basically be a derelict husk in space that you stumble upon, or should it basically
now that really
be
makes me want to do
perfectly
more,
fine, pristine condition? So these all become inputs to these setups. So the designers set up the archetypes, and the system fills in the inputs, and what you wind up getting is an exponential increase in variety,
it
because
depends
all
on
of a
how
sudden
much it
designers
makes me,
aren't trying to hard code every single specific instance, and so you can think of dynamic events as it's really just an evolution of that system that adds on some additional back-end coordination and
I want this thing.
And those modifiers that I talked about earlier, to where dynamic events really do, they grant the designer the temporary capability to nudge
because now I actually have the ship to transport it. I didn't before.
Whether it be new items added to a shop.
Before, when you refine stuff, actually it's still now, but when you refine stuff and you want to transport it, if your ship isn't large enough to transport all of it, what it does is it just throws away the rest. At least in my experience. Might have been a bug that one time I experienced it, but it definitely happened. So now that I've got a large enough ship to transport everything, even if I've got a lot of loads, that's real nice. So I think I'm going to be buying a Prospector. Let's see how much it is. I think it's about 800,000, maybe a million. Star Citizen Tools Prospector. They used the one with the free fly, and it was real nice. Just needed to upgrade the mining head. Oh, it's 2 million. God. Well, I'm gonna have to save up for a while. 2 million UEC. Damn, son. That is an expensive little ship. Guess it's gonna be but if you rent it, you can't modify the drill, and the drill on it, the default drill, is crap. Yeah, we're still on pad 6. Let's hope we can get there before they take it away. I really want to change the drill because the elevator was close by. I have got to save up for quite a while. I'm not going to be buying it with real money, of course. That's not happening. Although it's tempting, it's not happening. Well, I say that. How much does it cost? 140 bucks. 150. 150 euros. It's tempting. It's tempting. I'm not gonna do it, but it's tempting. Oh, that is a weird LOD. There we go. Yeah, it's not even filled up halfway. It's about a quarter. That is fantastic. Oh god, I wonder what it did to the Dragonfly though. Now question, did it load around the Dragon? It loaded around the Dragonfly. No. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. No.
For your safety, please vacate the area. Thank you for your cooperation.
No. I'm right here. Damn it. I'm right here.
Initiating ship storage.
No.
Thank you for your
Come on.
cooperation.
Turn on. Systems on. Get out of here. Okay. Ah, shit. Oh my god. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? God damn it. No, well. Will that spawn in there? I don't think it will, but let's give it a try. It is really cool that that cargo actually went around the Dragonfly though. I didn't think about that, and I most certainly did not expect it. Oh, did the Dragonfly spawn inside of it? No way. That will be too cool if it actually remembers that. if it's really there in the same place, I'll be thoroughly impressed. Because that opens a lot of possibilities of storing stuff. The next question, if you just store it manually, will it also stay inside? I can leave my rock inside the MSR when I store it. That is fantastic. Where's the cargo though? Where's the cargo? Okay. Where's my cargo? You have got to be kidding me. So it... So it keeps the fucking dragonfly, but it doesn't keep the cargo? Are you for real? I'm not sure what to say, to be honest. Yeah. I didn't return it to the refinery. Definitely didn't do that. But did it load it in? Does it just take a while? No. No, it most certainly does not. That's a bug and a half. I guess I'll go check the admin office if the system still thinks there's something inside. I'll be completely honest, if it's not in there, I'm just gonna call it quits for tonight. But that would be real weird. I was so impressed that the dragonfly spawned in there and then it doesn't respawn my cargo. Everything in Star Citizen, every good thing always does come with a disappointment. Doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Is there no trading console or anything here? Ah, okay. Don't know what this is, but it should definitely work. Draws. Interesting. Well. Okay. Galleria? I still don't know how to pronounce that. Or do we go to the mining area? No, we'll go to the Galleria first. I'm gonna Google how to pronounce that right now. I'm sure it's the Galleria. Star Citizen. Oh, shit. Okay, there we go. Define.
Galleria.
Yeah, Galleria. I've never heard that word used before. I mean, it makes sense, but... What? On Earth? T-pose, nice. And this is all not fine, but who the fuck designs this stuff?
Hi. Thanks for coming in.
Someone in CIG has to be colorblind, right? Yeah. Someone's gotta be colorblind to allow that. Okay, where's the fucking admin office? There it is. At least they make it clear. Make it clear. Wow. My speech is kinda crap. Really? Well, I guess. What? Okay. I am confused. Ow. Completed, right? I guess I'll still go fly to Microtech. I mean, I like Microtech. It's a God, no. Oh shit. This one. I like Microtech. It's a place I like logging out in, even though it's a laggy ass way from the hubs to the spaceport. But Microtech is so pretty. If Buzz does get the game, and God, I hope he does, I'll tell him to spawn up Microtech, because it is absolutely stunning. Actually, I'm not sure if Microtech is a spawnable location, but yeah, it's beautiful. But I do really hope Buzz gets the game, because I really... News, you know, you can do anything for News, but he's still gonna have a fuck you attitude. He doesn't really care about you, or anyone, I guess. So yeah, when I ask him to multi-crew with me, he doesn't really care. But it'll be nice to do with Buzz, because, you know, he doesn't mind. Nice to be together on a ship with friends. It's cozy, homely. Like being on a ship in Sea of Thieves. I like being on the Freelancer. Don't think my cargo's gonna be there. Nope. What is that though? Guess I'm gonna have to make a bug report. Yeah, that's real weird. I wonder if it's got anything to do with the Dragonfly. Well, if the game says the cargo's here, then the cargo's here. Nothing to worry about. Nothing at all. Open. I wonder if it's actually slow or if it's just the server being slow. Okay, well, let's get out of here quick. Alright, we're off that. Let's plot a course to Microtech. And Tech. I wonder if it's pronounced Calliope or Calliope. Microtech's moon. And how is that pronounced? Eutropy? I guess. Who knows? Let's calculate a jump. Go on, shoot, charge up. Oh god, ooh, that's close. Let's turn the other one up again.
Ops inventory, where there would be additional demand for an item at a particular shop, whether it be missions that are going to be offered here, all of those sorts of things. And so I mentioned like population control. You can see, a fleet week in the future will be a dynamic event. And when that event's going on, we're going to turn the dial and crank up the population. We're going to wind up doubling it, because you'd expect to see a lot of people coming to see that show.
That's really
then when
cool.
The event dissipates, then we'll basically turn that dial back down. The population will, recede back to its normal levels. In other words, it's a special event that we've come in. We've added a ton of custom content, NPC conversations, all this stuff geared towards that. And so we kind of view it as one big, comprehensive, designer-driven package that can be merged with all of this, this back-end systemic, background.
I love those holes.
Sorry, I got distracted. There was an ASCII art of Tyler wearing an American top hat. You mentioned that there's the systemic triggers, the things that that can trigger all these things by by just meeting criteria. And then the manual triggers. Some of the folks in the chat are asking if the manual triggers are akin to like the old GM events that you would see in older MMOs, where you know a design, in this case a designer as opposed to a GM, can come in and just create a one-time event that would occur.
That's exactly it, and some of these will be one time, like the Zenith
no,
Threader
no,
or
not the
particular
grenade.
Fleet Week,
Not
or
the grenade.
other ones will basically just add
no,
to our
not the grenade.
library of things.
Not the grenade.
You know, that we can activate simply because we want it to liven up the place. The Nine Tails, I don't want to go into the Nine Tails. I don't want to go into like the detail because there's some cool stuff that will be introduced.
What? What? What just happened? Why am I in... God damn it. Why am I in space? Those planets... Oh, I don't know. Who knows? Well... Guess I'm not gonna be doing any bad logging today. I don't think anyone's gonna be able to give me a pickup either. Oh well. Oh well, oh well. That was unexpected. Where am I? Wow. In the middle of fucking nowhere. Wonder how long my oxygen will hold out. Too long. Right, well. Can I do any emotes? It's a good thing I was wearing a helmet though. It is a real good thing I was wearing a helmet. Oh, not that. Oh. Thank you for watching. This is how I'll wave goodbye because I can't do any emotes in EVA. Whee! And I'll see you next time, I guess. Bye, guys.